Hey everybody, Kevin Sylvester here, along with PGA Pro Jeff Mietus. This is the first of a new series here of Tee to Green Podcast, Tee to Green Academy, where, yes, through conversation, we are going to make you a better golfer with some tips from PGA professionals. So I want to have our own in-house PGA professional, Jeff Mietus, start us off here. All right, Jeff, for those of us here in the Northeast where we are based, we are itching to golf. Many people travel for a golf vacation, but that hasn't happened for most due to the pandemic this year, although I do have one round in when I was on assignment. But so that's likely not happening for many people. And we're at February now, and, you know, listen, in March, typically we can get out on golf courses here in Buffalo. Last year we certainly did. We got out on golf courses. So it's right around the corner. Now, what should people have been doing, or what can they start doing to prepare themselves to return to the golf course this spring?
Well, first of all, I think it's the most exciting time of year, because spring's coming and it feels like it's just around the corner. So I was always keyed up to start getting loose. One of the things, first of all, you got to get your body ready, right? Swinging a golf club, it is what it is. It is a difficult. You're swinging a club around your body at 100 miles an hour, and you have to stop it within 6, 8, 10 feet. So that takes some doing. So I like to see people get stretched out, hit a few balls here and there. You don't want to spend too much time hitting balls just yet. I'd like to get your body moving. Things like squats, lunges with some kind of rotation, anything where you got some rotational, what we call functional movement. So your body's moving like a golf swing would move. It's good to get stronger, but you want to get stronger in your golf muscles. And then I also want to start trying to create a little speed. You've been dormant for a while. You want to start to ramp it up. You want to do it slowly. So I learned the hard way. I jumped into it the other day, made a few swings. It wasn't good for the back. I tell you that, trying to rip it. But you want to start off slowly and start learning to create speed again. Okay. The other thing I highly recommend is, the old Jack Nicklaus he would see his coach, Jack Grout, every spring. And what would they do? They'd go over fundamentals, your grip, your posture, your alignment, your ball position, little things like that. That's the base of your golf swing. So if one of those is off key or a little bit askew, throughout the year, you're going to be adapting to that, and that affects your golf swing. And don't take this the wrong way, but don't have your golf buddies tell you what's going on in your golf swing. I had a laugh with a fellow PGA pro the other day. We were at the Dome and watching buddies teach buddies, and they're telling them just something that couldn't be more incorrect. And everybody wants to help out, but you have to have an eye for it. And there's a science to it. And so that's a bad thing. And then check your equipment. So the three things I like to do is, get the body loose, check my fundamentals, and then check my equipment. Was there a gap in my game last year? It's been a while. Was there a shot I couldn't hit? Was 210 yards a very difficult shot for me because I had a club that went too far or a club that went too short? Or should I put another wedge in? These are the conversations you meet with a PGA pro that you want to have. I always, the scoring's within 100 yards of the green, or as you get closer to the green is where you score. Obviously, we all want to hit it far because it gets you closer to the hole, and that's the number one factor. But getting up and down and hitting competent, confident wedges into greens makes a big difference for anybody's game, chipping and pitching the ball well. And that can be an equipment thing. If you just bought a wedge off the rack, or you have a couple wedges that you got at, golf tournaments, that may not be a complementary set. You talk about complementary football. Well, you want to have a complementary set. So take a look at those, your bounce angles, your lie angles, little things like that make a big difference in the game. And even if you're not trying to be great, you just want to have fun, getting those things ready makes golf a lot more fun. There's nothing worse than going out the first couple weeks through the year. I've done it, carry my bag, play 18, and I'm sore for 3 days, and then my equipment, I never really looked into it, and all of a sudden I'm halfway through the season and I'm not going to change my set. So those are the things I like to have people do pre-season, and watch and listen to you on the Golf Network and just get ready and get psyched for some golf.
Yeah, being out there calling golf shots for PGA Tour Radio
from Hawaii.
Course. What's that?
From Hawaii and California, that was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. The rash is there. It's not an inch anymore. It's a rash. I can't wait to play.
I understand.
For sure. I want to touch on something you said there about equipment and in the bag and going through your bag. One of the things that I do after every round, and it's more of a mental note that I'm able to remember this, is I go through the round. I'm like, okay, I hit driver 7-iron on this hole. Okay, that was short hole driver wedge. And I'll go through. I'm like, okay, how many times did I hit my 7-iron in a round? How many times did I hit, so and so? And I try to go through the golf course and remember, okay, on this hole, you know what? I need to have a 4-iron for my second shot. But I found that the club I hit the least was my 6-iron. The least where I play at Lancaster Country Club, and I found that interesting. So if I make a change to my bag, like say I want to put a 5-wood in, for example, to go along, to add something else there. Most people take a wedge out, but I'm thinking, I would probably take the 6-iron out because it's the one that I hit the least. Although it's probably a club I probably should hit more because it's more versatile. But the point being, Jeff, when you're playing this year, or even if you've got the time now to go through and you think about where you play your golf the most, go through your typical round, and not what, your perfect shots, but what your typical shots are, your typical rounds. Where do you normally end up on a hole? What do you normally hit into a green? And really go through and find out which club or clubs that you use the least, and which clubs do you wish you had. You talk about wedges, like I carry 4 wedges, and some people only carry 2. I think they should really reconsider the amount of wedges they carry and maybe reduce the number of woods or long irons that they carry in their bag because of the infrequency that they use them.
That's a good point, Kevin. I remember Lonnie Nielsen, one of the greatest PGA professionals in our area, one of the best players in the country, recently passed, and he had played in an Open or a PGA Championship. I forget what it was, and I was chatting with him, and he pulled out a 7-iron because he wasn't going to hit a lot of 7-irons wherever this U.S. Open was, and put a 2-iron or a hybrid or whatever it was in his bag. That's a good point. What we like to call it is gap fitting. Okay, so where are the gaps in your game? So I would say to you, maybe you don't pull your 6-iron out, but you find out where your gap is, and maybe you hit your 6-iron less because there's less of a gap between your 5 and your 6, or your 6 and your 7. So that may be a club that and because you don't hit that shot much, that might be a thing you could do. You could go 5-iron, hybrid, 5-iron, 7-iron. And the other thing to remember also is, that's why you see a PGA Pro or you hit off one of those launch monitors, because you find out what your stock yardage is, and it's not with roll, it's always carry. And you see where your gaps are, and you don't want to have too big a gap. Because, Kev, you're going to play some holes, they'll be downwind one day, they'll be into the wind the next day. So those clubs may change day to day, and you don't want to have a big gap in there. But I love to see people have that done properly. You play a lot, so you probably know where those gaps are. Get rid of the gaps as much as possible. Find clubs that fill those gaps for you. And you remember the clubs that are the most important, in my opinion, the driver. If you're fit with the driver, it's a big advantage. If you just grabbed a driver off the rack, it may or may not fit you. You're probably not optimizing your ball flight a million. And then wedges and putter. Putters are very independent. But the wedge game, as we talked about before, it would be an area to look. The lofts on clubs are so different nowadays. When I first started playing golf, I had Hogan Apex irons. My pitching wedge was 51 degrees. My current pitching wedge is 43 degrees. Now the ball's changed, and it's a different, it's different, and it's still, but I hit it further than I did then. So 4 degrees to 5 degrees is about what you want between most of your clubs with your wedges and your irons. So even if you know those, that can help you get about the right area. You can take them to a club fitter, and they'll measure up all your loss and lies for you, and see if you're in that gap, and then try to find out where there's a yardage you don't hit, and find a club that fits in that yardage for you.
And that's a great point, because what we talk about a lot on the tour in broadcasts is cover numbers. And we get the yardage book, and the players know what their cover number is. And what that means is, okay, if there's a bunker in front and the whole location's 5 paces off the edge of that green above that bunker, they know what the cover number is. That's what they're marking off. They're not flying it rarely do they ever play the yardage to the flagstick. They play cover number and back of the green. Okay. So they know, okay, well, it's 157 yards to cover the bunker, and I've got 170 to the back of the green. So they're looking to hit a shot between 157 and 170. That's what they need. And most often they'll say, okay, if it's 157, I want to hit it 158, 159. Boom, depending on where the whole location is. Most people watching this, most amateurs that listen to our show, I'm gonna guess 85% don't know their cover numbers.
I would agree with you. And what happens, here's a simple way to do it too. If you wanted to do it, if you had a simulator, you pick a number of shots with each club. It's a 4-iron or a 6, say your 6-iron. You hit 20 of them. Take the median, right? Mm-hmm. Don't take the average, take the median. The one, there's going to be a cluster, you'll have longer ones and shorter ones, and it all carry, and then pick that. You'll find that cluster, and then kind of chart those, take all your clubs and go through and see where those 3 in the center of those 20 shots you hit with that club end up. And that's a really good starting point for you to know what your cover number is. And that's also a really good starting point for you to know where the gap might be in your set makeup. And like you said, a lot of times it's going to be on the wedge end of things.
So when someone goes to the dome, if they're just going to go to the dome for the first time, or they're going to go to a simulator now to, get there, assuming they've stretched and are working out.
Warmed up.
Yeah, warmed up, all those things. What should they focus on when they're hitting? Because, obviously ball flight might be, if you're on the top deck of the dome, you're not going to see your ball flight. You're going to be hitting the hefty bag, if you will. What should they focus on?
Early in the season, I'm focusing on, making a nice turn, trying to finish in balance. I'm worried about centeredness of contact. And, just really kind of getting a feel for my body. I'm also out there going to try to hit different shots. So when I walk through the dome, I see everybody hitting a 6-iron into the back of the wall, 6-iron into the back of the wall. I'm going to be trying to chip a 7-iron into the corner as close to the wall as I can, games with it. Instead of just hitting shots, try to play games with your clubs, take a different club and hit it lower, or get a buddy there who can hit it closest to that line. Something instead of just the rote repetition of slamming balls off a mat into a wall 110 yards away. Anything like that will help you start getting ready for golf, because as you know, how many shots are, when you play golf and when you watch tour players play, I got 150 yards, a perfectly level lie. It's never like that. And that's simulating playing golf more. So I think you would start off, and anytime you can create some competition for yourself while you're in the dome, that would be good for you too, instead of just having your buddy check out your swing. If you've got something to work on in your swing, what I see is I always give students drills. So they, perfect practice makes perfect. And we're trying to give you a feel for what you're trying to do. And they'll do 3 drill swings in 25, right? Do 50 drill swings, put that bucket down. I got a small bucket. This whole bucket is the drill I'm supposed to do to change this. And the last 6 or 7 balls, make some swings, and boom. That's a good practice session. Just getting out there and hitting shots into the wall, that's not your best practice session. So use the time efficiently. Think, what would a good player be doing here? What would a tour player be doing here? And that's why they're better often, because of how they approach the game and how they prepare before a round.
If they serve beer, if that's what you do during your round of golf, maybe you need to get those reps in.
Right. That loosens everybody up. Yeah, especially the lips. Yeah.
Do that responsibly. As far as specific golf exercises, I would simply say, there's enough, just Google it on YouTube. Yeah. If you don't know a trainer or a TPI certified golf trainer, you can Google some golf exercises. We're talking rotational, functional exercises.
Functional's key.
Functional's key.
And Kev, TPI is something called Titleist Performance Institute for people who don't know. And it's been around for 10, 15 years. And all they do is study the dynamics of human motion in the golf swing, and the physical therapy end of it, and the physical fitness end of it. And it's outstanding. As you would know, is there any tour player who doesn't follow some sort of TPI routine? Very, very few. Most interesting man in the world, maybe?
No, he's got all those stretches. No.
Does he?
I don't want to, I exercise, but I may not look like the most fit guy in the world. They all have to do something. I mean, just for what they put their body through.
Right.
Not just the swinging, but the 6-mile walk every day. I mean,
Yep.
they all do something. There's no doubt about it. You can't make a living playing golf without having your body to go. Most guys
Right.
have physios, right? Remember,
Right.
Russell Knox, we're around the it was after the round at the hotel bar in Bermuda. Listen to me, but and somebody said something about Buffalo. Where I was looking for a Bills game. It was a Sunday. It was after the round, and he's like, "Yeah, you're from Buffalo. My physio's from Buffalo." Like they all have trainers and people they work with that come out with them on tour. The tour has a physio on call,
Mm-hmm.
during rounds.
And
They bring up Koepka. Remember Koepka getting stretched out before he
yep.
took the time off. So yeah, they all have somebody.
And if you're interested in that, it's TPI. There's several local golf professionals who are certified in it. There's multiple levels of certification, and there's multiple veins you can go in to be a certified TPI guy. And little things like, your hip might not be right and you might not know it. And they can give you a simple motion, a simple exercise, a simple functional motion that'll make you a better player because you can turn, you can release your body, you can stay in balance. Little things like that you may be compensating for in your swing that you don't know. And yeah, they even have, you can get a handicap for TPI. And I don't want to tell you what mine is now, but it used to be pretty good. So, but yeah, it is interesting stuff. And the more you learn about it, the more you understand the golf swing also. So the more you understand how your body works, it helps you understand the golf swing and your golf swing. Because Kev, your golf swing is going to be different than mine, than Russell Knox's, than all those guys. And like one of the most important things you can learn is to swing the other way. So if you're a right-handed golfer, that's a ton of repetition in that one direction, like a baseball player, right? You make a million, there's an imbalance there in your body. So make sure, in your warm-ups or after your rounds, if you're a right-handed golfer, make 20, 30, 50 left-handed swings just to get the muscles going in the other direction too.
That is a great tip. That's one I got several years ago when I was having back issues. Knock on wood. That was one of the exercises the rehab had me doing, was swinging the other way. And it's amazing how much better I felt like in a week just doing that.
Take you a trip to the chiropractor is what it'll do. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, hey Jeff, if somebody out there listening, you know what, I need to really get my swing evaluated and what I'm doing wrong with the lesson. This is how PGA professionals away they make their living. And if they're interested in getting a lesson from you, how can they contact you?
Yeah, contact me on Twitter at Mietus, Mietus PGA. Real simple. We'll get together. You don't always need a series of 10 lessons. Sometimes you need one lesson and just get you on the right track and get you going. So, and we can I can check your equipment for you, some TPI stuff. If there's some physical limitations there's things we can do. All those things can be solved, and it does make the game a lot more fun when you kind of feel like you're at least on the right path.
All right. Great to have Jeff with us here. Of course, you're going to be hearing a lot from Jeff. We start our show live on WGR March 6th when we return on the radio for our weekly edition of the Tee to Green Radio Show. Until then, hope you enjoyed this first edition of the Tee to Green Academy podcast.